Welcome to the Echo Tips Podcast.
And here's a sneak peek of what you'll find in this episode. On it. Just a second.
Olá, ouvintes do podcast Echo Tips no Brasil.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Echo Tips Podcast. I'm your host, David Ward, getting over a cold right now, and so I may sound a little funky, and you may hear a few coughs here and there, just getting over a head cold with a little respiratory component there that joy of keeping you up hacking all night long while you're trying to take some Robitussin and all that kind of good stuff. So, glorious times this past week, but I am still here with you because the show must go on. Although today's episode is going to be a little more brief. One, we're going to be highlighting some, let's roll that jingle. That's right, breaking news. All right, I got the cool jingle, so I got to use it, guys. But it actually may be a little bit of out of date, so I do apologize for this. I think this information may be connected to an announcement June 15th. But for some reason, my Google alert system did not notify me till this past Friday, the 27th of July. So I'm really not too sure if they changed the press release and then it was flagged to me, or they modified the press release, or I'm really not too sure what happened. But there were several things that I noticed, and there's even an announcement back in April. They may have unmodified that press release too because it got flagged as well, connected with a Fire TV HD stick that is new, slimmer, and better. So I might briefly mention something about that, although I don't think that's really terribly newsworthy. But we do have a new country that announced that A-Lady Plus is now open and available too, so people can start enabling that or getting on the waiting list for that. I'm not too sure how those soft rollouts might roll out. I know I still have some folks in Britain, fellow podcasters such as Stephen Scott and Sean Priest that don't have access to A-Lady Plus yet. In fact, I even sent a note to Sean today from the Double Tap podcast team that the way that I got onto it, because I never got notified the way the original paperwork still said, you would get an email notification when you were ready to go. I never got that. I just happened to be talking to it one day, and I think I asked, can you do A-Lady Plus or enable A-Lady Plus? And she's like, yeah, I could do that. Would you like me to do that? I'm like, what? So apparently at some point I had got greenlit on that. But anyway, today's episode we'll be talking about new country that is available, has access to A-Lady Plus. I'm also going to review the list of countries since I do feel like there may be one or two on there that I somehow missed the announcements about. So that may be because my alerts are monitoring for English language announcements about A-Lady Plus items, and maybe they're announcing this in the language of that nation, and I'm not getting flagged for that. So I'm not too sure how that's happening, but I feel like there might be one or two new names, country names on that list. So that's kind of exciting. I think that might even be interesting for those that are here in the U.S. or Canada or other places that have access to A-Lady Plus and have for a while. Just maybe because if you're doing dual language stuff, there may be opportunities there. When they've refined that for different nations, you can maybe have multiple language options. That's something I need to check on. You used to have a dual language functionality of A-Lady, so you could come over and talk in Spanish or English, and she would respond to the corresponding language you had. I haven't checked to see if that thing is still in existence, but the A-Lady is a powerful tool for people who are learning those new languages. So let's see. What was the other things we were going to mention today? I think those were the basic things. The new nation. We'll talk a little bit about that new Fire HD stick, even though that's a little old information from April. Although, like I said, it's been flagged. Like maybe they've tweaked the press release a little bit, although I'm not too sure. That might have been more connected with the new nation because the blog posts were linked somewhat on the same page. And there was something else I was going to mention to you guys. What was the other thing? Oh, a call to action for you guys. Listeners, you are out there. You're playing with the same toys and tools that I am, and I have some questions about the Fire TV stick that a a student from the nonprofit that I used to work at asked me about. She's totally blind, and she was asking about the A-Lady voice command remote and what you could do on the Fire TV and what you can't do on the Fire TV. So we might synopsize my brief past experiences with that today and what I kind of told her. But really what I'm putting out to you guys is if you can give me some feedback, because the Fire TV has been doing a lot of revisions, and I'd like to hear some feedback about that. Anyway, so I'm rambling on there. There goes you. I'm doped up on Tylenol and things like that. So decongestants and all that good stuff. So that's bound to be the case. All right. So just real quick for our new listeners, and I won't ramble on here. We'd like to welcome you. The Echo Tips podcast, as the name implies, deals with everything with the Amazon Echo, but other voice assistants as well. We are in our 8th season. We are a weekly show, and we're finishing out the 8th season. Just in a matter of a few episodes, we will have completed 8 seasons and be opening the doors on our 9th season. And I'm hoping to maybe have some opportunities for you guys to offer your support. If you find value here, you maybe can share $1 or $2 with me, or buy me a cup of coffee, or this week you could buy me some Alka-Seltzer Plus for cold and sinus. But anyway, I'll probably be integrating that at some point here into the show, if at all possible, because I'm thinking of anyway. So I think that's basically it. But check out our back catalog, you new listeners. If you're trying to solve a problem, I'll mention some ways we can do that at the tail end of the show too. Best way to do that is YouTube and going to our website, CERT Doctor, and I'll mention some ways you can do that. All right, well, without any further ado, we'll do a brief transition, and then we'll be back to our main subject. Hey guys, just a real quick intermission here to just plant a little seed in your brains. I've been recently doing episodes with Blind Level Tech, or the BLT podcast, for the Aftersight Network out of Colorado. And me and Evan have been having a ball about once a month towards the end of the month doing a summary of tech news, and that's just general tech news in the press, but also especially assistive tech news as it applies to the BVI, BLV community, that is the blind and low vision or blind and vision impaired community. And so you can find that we just did a recent BLT episode. I can't remember exactly what's in the title. I know something about burritos and Braille and a few other things we talked about, and automated taxi cabs and Waymo and stuff like that. So by all means, go check that out. That is BLT on the Aftersight Network. If you go over to your Amazon Echo, you could just say play the Blind Level Tech podcast, and you're more than likely going to hear me and Evan ranting about the tech news for the last 60 days. We missed an episode the previous month, but you can go check that out, and we have a lot of fun with that. So I just thought I'd mention that to you guys, and now we'll transition back into the main part of our show. Okay, guys, so here we are. So as I mentioned, we have a new nation that has access to A-Lady Plus. So we'd like to welcome them, and it is Brazil. That's right, Brazil. So let's see if we can have our A-Lady help us out a little bit with that. And I'm using the wake word for that Captain Kirk would use today, COMPUTER. COMPUT. I said all the letters right. Computer. See, that's what happens when you're sick. You question yourself. So anyway, and we'll just say computer. Can you say hello to Echo Tips podcast listeners in Brazil in Brazilian?
On it. Just a second.
Olá, ouvintes do podcast Echo Tips no Brasil.
Okay, so there you go. So there you go. I don't know how accurate that is, but hey, large language models are pretty good when it comes to languages. So yeah, it's good to have essentially Brazilian listeners on board, and they have access to A-Lady Plus now in Brazil. Now, as mentioned, this got only flagged to me about a week ago on the 27th of July. The blog post on the actual aboutamazon.com press release website actually says this was posted June 15th, but why I didn't get notified about it until now, I don't know. Maybe because he originally wrote it in that Brazilian Portuguese, and this is the first time they put it in English. I don't really know, but nonetheless, there it is. Now, some neat things that were in that press release that I hadn't seen in a while was some of the countries that have access. So let me go down through this list because I don't know if we've covered all these before, and they may have added some since I had access. So let's take a look at this list. So I think the first one you obviously know is the United States. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm garbling up some of that stuff now. So United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Mexico, Italy. I think so far I've mentioned all of these previously. Spain, I remember that. Germany, for some reason I don't remember Germany. Austria, so yeah, I don't remember that either. And of course now obviously Brazil. So those are countries that have access to A-Lady Plus as of now. And so welcome one and all. We got all sorts of Brazilians, Germans, Italians, Austrians, just amazing swath of people and access. It's amazing how fast this rollout is really taking place. Okay, so that is it for that. Now, connected with that, I also noticed that there has been a new HD Fire TV Stick Slim released. And this is in connection to this call to action I wanted to see if you guys could help me with because of the student's question. But I did notice this new Fire TV Stick has been released, and I think the press release said April on this item, although at that point it was on a waiting list. So when you could actually receive it, I'm not too sure, but they're saying tens of thousands of them are being sold on the Amazon listing now. So I would imagine everybody's getting access to this. Now, historically, in my past experience, just to give you an idea how the Fire TV Stick works. So as I was trying to explain this to a student, and most of you probably know this, so I'm sorry if I'm being redundant, is there's no TV in the Fire TV. She kept thinking, oh, it's like an actual television set. No. It's a stick. It's a little gizmo that plugs in your back like the old days of VCR or an Xbox, it plugs into a port in the back and you got to switch over to it to get access to it. So this is a way to take any kind of TV and class it up with either a Fire TV, or you could go get a Roku or whatever kind of appliance that you plug in. Now, historically, in my mind, lately, the way Amazon's been doing this, and I could be wrong, is the Fire TV, you had basically the sticks, you had two models. You had basically a 4K model, which was the more high-powered one, and sometimes would have more memory capacity for storing apps and stuff. And then you would have, conversely, the cheaper one, which was just a standard HD, like a 720p or whatever, a standard HD stick. So that's usually the cheaper model. And this is what they've revised here, is this, and they advertise it as slimmer, less power, but yet a 30% faster processor, all the stuff you typically expect them to see. Wi-Fi 6, nothing really surprising there, although I didn't see Wi-Fi 6E mentioned, which is what you would probably really want. And that's about it. Nothing really spectacular speaking to me about that. But it is nice at the price point of $34.99 US. So it's dirt cheap if you need to make a TV more modern and have access. Now, that all having been said, I've had a lot of trouble with the Fire TVs historically, just the random update cycles. I mean, I can be watching a movie and the thing does a reboot because it's installing an update. The poor lady I was advising who just got a Fire TV, I think she got the entire television, to be honest, with the Fire TV built in. I think it was a Samsung or something like that. She's like, I couldn't do anything with the remote or voice commands. And I told her that is not shocking at all, because I had a one of the brand new 4K HD sticks here that I may have a predecessor since then. But that thing, I left it offline for a couple of months and then I plugged it in, and it took like 2 or 3 days worth of updates. It just kept rebooting and updating. So Amazon is really working hard to revise their OS on that. It's a little bit of a hobgoblin. I don't really feel terribly positive about where it's at right now. But with a screen reader, which is what I use as a vision impaired person to interact with it, it's okay for what it is. I mean, $35 for this stick, you can't beat that, and probably for the 4K model, you're close to $75 to $100, I would guess. But the question my student had, who was blind, was about interacting with the content using the voice remote. So we know with the A-Lady Plus, and this particular Fire TV Stick HD specifically mentions that in its branding. So beware, if you go on Amazon, I found one that did not say that and was $34.99. But the other one did. It said A-Lady Plus ready, and it said newest, I do believe. So that's the newer one. You don't want to go accidentally buy the older one. Now, one of the things that was advertised to us many months ago, if not a year ago, actually probably was a year ago, about A-Lady Plus on a Fire TV is this ability to more naturally find, I want science fiction shows that are free, or I want science fiction shows from the 80s, and you could do these complex questions. Who was the actor in this? Is he in any other science fiction movies? And then you could triage. I want to play my favorite scene in this movie, and it would jump to the scene. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with that. I think some of that functionality I've seen surface. But for my student, she was more interested in the ability to just quickly interact with content. I want to watch a MacGyver episode, or I want to watch a Star Trek, the original series episode. And for it to just instantly jump into, say, Hulu or Netflix or Amazon Prime Video and play that content without her needing to navigate menus on screen and turning on the screen reader, voice view, and things like that. Now, can you listeners speak to that? How well does that work? I'm pretty sure, I know YouTube works really well on my system setup. I do believe Netflix, which I'm presently not subscribed to, likely works very well that way. I know with like Prime Video stuff, I can usually say probably play MacGyver on Prime Video, and it will just go and play and resume the TV season that I was watching. But with third-party vendors, that's where I get a little sketchier, like a Hulu or some of these weird, naming convention ones. I think Disney usually has worked pretty well for me. But when you get into these smaller little TV vendors like was it TVO or Tuvio or, these different ones, how well do they work, or do they work at all? What's your experience? So I'd love to hear some feedback, and you can do that at Echo Tips Podcast at CertDoctor, CertDoctor.com. And that's a great way to give me some feedback on that subject. Now, alternatively, I had suggested to her that the Roku, which I did know certain apps were more friendly for her type of content, but I don't know what the status of the voice remote was on. At one point, Roku was pushing a voice assistant on their things, and I don't know if that's still a thing. And conversely, I thought about maybe an Apple TV with Siri, especially with the new infused Siri AI in the future. That might be a really good tool for playing content that way. But then again, I don't know what that integration is like. Can I say real simply, hey, Siri lady, can you play MacGyver on Paramount, and can it just go and, assuming I have the Paramount app installed, and just go and play it? Is that possible? I probably used the wrong TV series there. But anyway, you guys get the idea what I'm saying. So anyway, that will wrap up this episode, I do believe. I know it was kind of light on content this week, but it was a little bit of a call to action, too, to get some of your guys' feedback, and I really would appreciate that. And anyway, until next time, I was going to mention to the new listeners, you can find out our back catalog of shows on YouTube. You can just go to CertDoctor.com/YouTube, or you just go to CertDoctor.com, the main site. There's links to the YouTube channel there. There's even an option for you to buy me a coffee or things like that on there, and a few other listings, I think. So, anywho, until next time, as always, we thank you for listening.